Ditraina is a light and dark scholar that gives herself buffs when doing light and dark attacks. These buffs affect her skills while they're active. She has random target 3 hits that give resistance down on each hit for both, single target 400 power nukes, and AoE 3 hits for both elements as well. The AoEs and the nukes are double casted if Ditraina has the opposite element buff active, and buffs elemental attack and damage up by 30% or debuffs 15% respective element resistance down while having the same element buff active. While doing light and dark attacks, she gets buffs for the respective element for 3 turns, and this is not extendable. She also doesn't get it from her ultimate. All of her support skills play into this gimmick, where she can crit with elemental attack if she has one buff, and guarantees crits with both, and she gets 30,000 damage cap up with both as well as another 30,000 from her TP support skill when both are active. Her TP support skill also starts her off with both buffs active for 2 turns, which helps her a lot to get started up. Without it, she really needs time to ramp up. She's quite powerful, having 400 times 2 or AoE 130 times 6, which equals 780 power, light, and dark attacks, and being able to buff herself up with her nukes and debuff enemies to 30% resistance down for each element. Her TP skill also debuffs. It's just a single target 15% elemental down debuff that also gives her 3 BP if she has both of her buffs active. It's a good move, however she really just doesn't have the skill slot space for it. Maybe if you have 4 skill slots on her, but they're usually still better off. This is the part where I start to go over her problems because she's honestly got a few of them. Starting off with the fact that she needs to bring a skill of the opposite element just to function. She basically only has 2 skill slots to put any of the element you actually want to bring. Not only does she have to bring an opposite element skill, but of course she also has to use it every 3 turns at least just to stay at her full potential. This takes up a lot of time and mostly just wastes turns. I say mostly because she's still buffing herself on these turns, and for reasons I'll get into later, this is partly why I prefer her in light fights over dark fights. She also has no passive elemental attack or damage up. She's the only 5-star scholar that has none of that because of all of her support skills focused on her unique buffs, which both her base support skills could just be in one. One support skill gives her buffs and gives 30,000 damage cap up when she has both, and the other one gives her elemental and guaranteed crit. Those could just be one support skill. Dark damage up accessories are also very hard to come across, and in comparison to Emil, which is another thing I'll get into later, who also needs the 30% dark damage up accessory, but he also has self 30% passive elemental attack up, and his active and passive elemental attack caps are raised to 50%. Look at this damage difference! Ditraina gets severely crept for dark by Emil. In light teams, however, she's a fair bit better since there's less competitions. Sazanto's levers don't kill me because I don't have him. Anyway, yeah, she can do pretty good, and the reason I prefer her in light teams is because of this, plus the buff that the dark nuke gives. It gives 30% damage up in comparison to the 30% elemental attack up that the light nuke gives. You're doing the dark nuke to keep your dark buff active, which will also mean she'll always have 30% damage up as well, which is much harder to come by than elemental attack up, which you'll only really be getting during break turns in light fight. Especially with her unique accessory, she'll also have lots of turns of 30% damage up. Speaking of her unique accessory, it's time for something good about her again. It gives her persistence. Buffs received will last an extra turn. This helps stack pet buffs, which is what people do with Lucetta behind damage dealers. Ditraina can do it herself with just an accessory. She still can't beat Emil though. To summarize, Ditraina can do strong light and dark attacks and is very gimmick heavy, which ends up actually causing some problems. She needs to bring attacks that won't hit weakness and use them quite often. All her support skills play into her gimmick, meaning she has no passive damage up or elemental attack up, and she gets severely power crept in dark by Emil, plus possibly others. However, she is the first character to crit with elemental attacks, and she is able to guarantee crits as well. She has good weakness coverage with light and dark, however I personally don't use light and dark very often. And lastly, she can extend buffs given to her by turn, making pet buff extensions possible with her. As for pulling her, I actually didn't plan on getting her. I think I just got lucky on a single pull and got her. Depending on how much light and dark content you want to do, plus if you like light and dark of course, she's definitely a fun character, and she is strong, don't get me wrong, but personally I'm not sure I justify myself going for her in the current state of the Japanese version. She has yet to be given 6 stars though, and this is a very big thing that you should keep in mind. We don't know what she'll be given yet, and she could end up becoming much stronger. The Emil comparison is also low, partly because she doesn't have 6-star stats like he does, and if light and dark end up showing up more, Ditraina could definitely see more use. Like in my upcoming wave battle video, I'm actually going to be using her as well because there's a lot of light and dark stuff there. I hope this may have helped you decide if you want to pull her. I'm not suggesting you do or don't, even Even though some things I said may have seemed like big problems, she is a fairly strong character that can do lots of damage. To me, there's really no wrong way you can look at Ditraina whether you pull her or not. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please don't use this as a guide to whether you should pull or not. That's not what this video is meant to be. It's just to help you decide a little bit and get a little bit more insight on how the character may perform. If you think I did good with this video and you want to see more upcoming character overviews, you can subscribe, and I hope you'll continue to watch my content.